Hello, and welcome to the Gers TV Friday Night Uncensored. How you doing, Jay?
I'm all good, mate. How are you?
Absolutely Baltic.
Yeah, that time of year, innit? That January blues are kicking in. But we've got a big game to look forward to on Sunday, mate.
Well, the news is that the weather forecast says there's a storm on its way, and let's hope that storm's red, white, and blue. I think it might just be, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah, I hope so. I mean, I was confident going after the game on Tuesday, going into the game at the weekend. But and as the title says, the injury news: a couple of big players are going to be injured for us, who are going to be a massive miss for the game up at Pedodry, because the two that are injured in Conor Barron and Sterling, for me, they would have been guaranteed starters.
100%. I know, I'd agree with that. Sterling just steadies up that defence and the midfield area. Sorry, I've choked my coffee there. And Barron's been the best player this season, I would say. On form, he's our best player just now. He's going to be out for about 3-4 months, so.
Yeah, and that's a big miss. You know, like his energy levels in that midfield, it's hard to replace. You know, I think Daniel said the other game, I can't remember which one, it might have been the St Mirren game or the Motherwell game, I can't remember which one it was, but he ran 15 kilometres when the average is about 10 or 11 kilometres a game. You know, he covers absolutely every blade of grass. So how do you replace that? Who in this team replaces what Conor Barron gives his team at the minute?
Without a doubt, he's the most improved player under Danny Rowe, and I think Danny Rowe really likes him. Unfortunately, we just have to take our medicine. When you actually watch, if you were to watch the game back against Aberdeen, the challenges that were going in against us, and we've been allowed to take place, but we're always going to get injuries. Unfortunately, that's the way it's going to be in Scottish football. It's not going to get any better. Probably the answer to your question would be we probably need somebody in quickly this weekend.
And I think we're going to get that player in quickly, aren't we? We're linked with two, so we've got the Romans. Did I get that right? Romans, the left back. Two of Romans, yeah. So we're linked with him, but more importantly, with the injuries that we've got, we're linked with. And I'm not even going to bother pronouncing his name. Is it Chuck? Call him Chuck for short. Chuck.
That'll be the name.
But apparently he's number 6. He's big, physical. He's got that, that physicality about him, that speed about him. Hopefully he can get across the grass the way Conor Barron can, because, we need to get him in ASAP, because there is going to be, we're going to feel the absence of Conor Barron at the weekend. And I feel like we're going to need him to at least play some minutes. I'm not sure if we'll start him at the weekend, but at least get some minutes on the pitch.
It strikes me that Fernandez and Shermiti are two players that Danny Rowe really likes, and the reason for that is the height and physicality. And it looks like he's buying more players for height and physicality. He's probably identified a big problem. We're very lightweight. We've got a team of good football players, but when there's a battle taking place, the opposition are not fuck it, let's be honest. We don't really have anybody to fight back. The guys that he looks to be bringing in look like big, strong, tall boys. And that's what's required at times of Scottish football. We did speak about Russell Martin bringing in the wrong types of players. It's early doors, but these look like the right types of players. Whether they're the right players, I don't know, but it's the right types, strong, physical, and good in the air.
Yeah, I feel like it's the sort of players that we need, and I think this league demands. You can't be I know he's not long in the door, etc. But when I look at Thelo Asgard, he's a big player, but I don't feel like he's a strong player. I feel like he's not a very quick player. I feel like he doesn't have the physicality at speed that I feel like the Scottish game needs. That aggressiveness.
He's a classic example. He's a classic example of what the problems are.
Yeah, so he's very technically gifted, but does he have that physicality? Does he have it up here to play for the club? Still remains to be seen. But I feel like the kind of players that we're buying, hopefully will have that, and I trust Danny Roll, though. The things that Danny Roll has done since he's come to this club is nothing short of a miracle. The fact that we, at this stage of the season, are in a title race is just absolutely it beggars belief. So if we are bringing in players, I have full trust that Danny Roll is bringing in the right players. We're linked with a couple of other players today. There's is it Dan Neil? Is that his name? Dan Neil?
From Sunderland. It was 2 for Sunderland.
Yeah, it's 2 for Sunderland. So, but Dan Neil. So Dan Neil. And I looked at his profile earlier. and I remember watching him in the playoff final, was it last season's playoff final. But Dan Neil, he's been a part of obviously he's a Sunderland lad, and he's played for them their whole career. But he started playing for them when they were in League One, and up through the Championship, he's been playing pretty much every game for them since he broke into the team. But last season, he was also given the captaincy, so he wasn't the club captain; he was the team captain. So he wore the captain's armband on the pitch, but there was Luke O'Neill, I think, was the club captain and did all the behind the scenes stuff. But he was given that responsibility on the pitch to lead the team, and I feel like that is what this team has also been lacking in recent times, is actually having leaders on the pitch. And he's been given that responsibility and he's only 24, just turned 24, so he was given that responsibility, 22, 23 years old, to be that player. And if we do get him, I was looking at his contract situation, he's got 6 months left. If we do get a player like this who's just turned 24, we can get him on the cheap because he's got 6 months left. He's not playing at the minute for them, really. He's only played 3 times for them this season, Sunderland. Obviously, it's a big step up to the Premier League. I think I would be really excited about that type of player. And I feel like we have to get him in now because, obviously, with the whole Conor Barron situation, if we can get this Chuck fellow in, and we can get another midfielder in Dan Neil, who we could get also on the cheap, I would do it. I'm not too sure about the other fellow though. I can't remember his name now. The winger that we were in.
We need to Google that. Aye.
Yeah.
But I know you. But what you're saying there, in theory, I'm saying this because we don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but we should be a wee bit further ahead than them across the city. And the reason for that, hi Davey. The reason for that, they've been in turmoil for the last 6 weeks. We were in turmoil at the start of the season. So Danny Rose had about 8 or 9 weeks to start looking at his own players and start to get ready to get them in. He should have that ready, and I think he has it behind the scenes. However, what I was going to say to you was, I think he's identifying the right types of players, but more importantly, he's making the right noises. He's not taking the bait. He's not getting involved in a media war or a bragging war with O'Neill across the city. They're trying to get him to take your bait. He's quietly confident, and I think let them shout their mouths off. Let them be the ones that think they're going to win everything. Let them do all the talking and just do our business, get our players in and get a result on Sunday. And if we can do that, we'll be looking good in January.
But that's what I love about Danny Rose as well. Like, he just seems to be so switched on, so intelligent. He knows, he's confident in his own abilities. He's got nothing to prove to anyone. He knows what the plan is, and he's sticking to that plan. The plan's working. He came in here, not like what Nancy did and tried to change everything. He came here and said, what does this club need? What does this club demand? It demands wins, because that breeds confidence in the players. Once they're confident, then they will start to improve the performances. Once they've started to improve their performances, that's the best time for him to then start to implement his own style of play. But the time to do that was not at the start. Like Russell Martin, for example, was trying to implement potentially a style of play with all these new players that wasn't working. And Nancy, when he came in, implementing style of play mid-season, which was just absolutely idiotic, he's actually done the exact opposite and said, let's just get wins on the board. And look where that's taking him. The players are confident. The fans are now, are bouncing, singing Danny Rose's name, constantly through the matches, etc. And we're an excited fan base now, which we haven't been for a long time, because we can see what is happening over the other side of the sea. Because at the end of the day, even though we don't like talking about them, the things that they do will still have an impact on the season. If they're dropping points under Nancy, then then we know that it gives us potentially an easier ride. But if they've got a manager that is doing well, then we need to step up and make sure that we can still compete with them. So now that they've got Martin O'Neill in, it's going to be a tougher challenge, no doubt, because he's not the calamity that was Nancy. But at the same time, you're asking a manager like Martin O'Neill to come in now, when the transfer plans were probably already underway to back Nancy. They've got rid of him, and now they have to completely. They've got Sean Maloney in charge of transfer. I think they tried to get Kyogo back. That's how desperate they're being. We now need to make sure that we completely blow them out of the water, because they're all over the shop. They're going back to Kyogo, and I think he's turned them down now. They have no idea which way to turn. If you're a player, you're not going to sign for them on a permanent basis in January when Martin O'Neill's not going to be there next summer. So they're going to be in the loans market for sure. And, so this is our time to capitalize. Hearts, I'm not even worried about Hearts. I don't even care, what they're doing, because I know if we if we beat Celtic, right, if we finish above them, Hearts will, for me, they'll drop points towards the end of the season anyway, and I feel like that will be a time to overtake them. But even so, if Hearts do end up winning the league, right, then fair play, well deserved. For me, the focus is just being above them, and at the minute they're all over the shop. We need to capitalise. We've done that. Hopefully soon, tomorrow. Hopefully they get announced. We get 2 players in, and then it's like we need more. And the things that Andrew Cavanagh said when he met the fans in the fan engagement session really, really gave me the confidence that we are on the right path, and he is going to take this title challenge seriously.
Yep, some good points here. So 2 contrasts I'm going to make here. The other side of the city, the fans are at civil war with their club. They're a mess on the park. They're a mess off the park. They're a mess in their transfer system right now. Now, we've got players identified, and it looks as if we're going to do all the business now. Our fans are united. Our chairman has had a fan board meeting, and that involved fans from all over the spectrum, and everyone's on board. There's talk of an increase in Ibrox Stadium. On the park, Rangers look great. We look fitter. Our biggest complaint, we complained about it for months, was the set pieces. They've been addressed. Our goalkeeping situation's being addressed. And all of a sudden, Rangers are the club with everything going for it, whilst there's turmoil at the other end of the city. This is a chance to grab it by the scruff of the neck. Keep the wins coming in. And it's wins. It's not about how they play. It's wins. Pittodrie is going to be a really hard venue, especially with the weather and the lost players. It's all about getting up there, getting in amongst it, getting the results, and keeping the feel-good factor. Now, the reason I mention that is that includes the fans. Some of the messages that have been sent in the last 2 weeks, there's still fans out there desperate to criticise the players at all times for no reasons. Before the games, that so-and-so, this so-and-so, and I'm getting to a point where we need to support the club at all levels. We need to say that the manager's on board. We don't have all the best players, but we've got a chance here. And to have that chance, whilst other clubs despise them, our fans need to be united and get that message across that we're going to go and do this together.
Yeah, I think the fans are so used to things going wrong that it's almost as soon as something looks like it's going wrong, they're straight at them. Because it's trauma. From previous seasons. This is a chance now. Sunday is so big, not just because we've now got a couple of key injuries, right? It's what happens after Sunday. We win away at. They've got Dundee United at home. Then Hearts have got Dundee away, I think, on a Sunday. They could both win those games easily. But if we can show that we can then go away to Pittodrie and win on a cold January Sunday afternoon, right, when the crowd's going to be up for it, because again they only turn up for us. If we can go and do that, what that can do to the other clubs mentally, it will exhaust them ahead of another game that they've got to play, which we've already played our game against midweek against when we played Aberdeen. So they've got to go play in midweek, and again, it's just keep in that pressure on. If we keep that pressure on, if we make key signings like we look like we're going to make, and the fans are up and they're excited and they're happy and they're singing and they're, whilst we watch the craziness going on at the other side of the city, the second half of the season is going to be so exciting. And another key point is we have to play them both at home next, right? We can really if we keep winning these games, we can really put a gap between us heading into the split, and that should be the aim, because when we do get to come to split, we're playing them both away from home. We need to keep winning these games so that we can take it to them when we play them at Ibrox, and then start building a lead.
It's about building momentum. You're right with that, but just something I'll point out, because the both of us have mentioned this, and I think we've got to be balanced on it. Was it Wednesday night? When did we play Aberdeen? Tuesday night.
Yeah, Tuesday.
Was it? Yeah. I've got that because of that New Year. I've got all my days mixed up.
Yeah, anyway, I think it was Tuesday.
Tuesday, we done the show on Monday. Is that right? The game against Aberdeen, I said before it and after it, I said that was Danny Rowe's first chance he's had to play his best 11 from the squad available. I believe that's the best team. Cornelius is a good player, but he's no better than Suter. And Big Fernandez has played himself in ahead of Chiga. So we've got a few players out, but we've still got a lot of players back. We're a strong team, and we're on a winning mentality. Not losing goals is a big thing for me. See if we can keep these clean sheets, we will win the league. That's a big one for me. Just keep this defence strong and together, keep the goals down, as many clean sheets as possible. That alone deserves credit from the management and the backroom staff, because we were an absolute mess 9 or 10 weeks ago. We were in some state.
Yeah. I mean, we were looking like we were going to concede every time the opposition got the ball. We looked so open. We looked completely out of place. There were so many turnovers. And let's face it, I think it was Sir Alex Ferguson said back in the day, goals will win you games, but the defense wins you titles. I think something like that. So, so keeping clean sheets is super important, because you can, if you look at the game at Easter Road. I think was it Danny Rowe's second game in charge or third second league game?
In the last minute.
We beat them. Apparently towards the end we beat them 1-0. We didn't play particularly well that game. We were, especially second half, we were really up against it. But because we got that goal and we were able to keep a clean sheet, I know we had. It was an unfortunate incident where I think Tav slipped and ended up tackling the lad. But the fact that we can keep clean sheets and the fact that we were so well organised, and they couldn't break us down, apart from Tav slipping, they couldn't break us down at all. That just, again, it brings that togetherness in the group, defenders feeling like every time they keep a clean sheet, it's like scoring a goal, and people take pride in clean sheets. And it's just about bringing that togetherness with the whole squad. And I feel like that's super important moving forward. And you can see that, you can see the togetherness with them. You can see the way, Conor Barron and Raskin are together, and the relationship that they're building in the middle of the pitch. They're enjoying it.
The other thing to remember, we've caught up with the goals and we've cut down with the goals against. Now, we've caught up with the goals and our strikers haven't scored that many goals. And that's not me having a dig at the strikers. The point I'm trying to make is, if Chermiti does what I think he's going to do and now go on a wee run, and Miovski can get back into form, then that's even more goal scoring opportunities, because there's plenty of chances for them now. We've got a real good chance of getting on a good run, getting plenty of goals, and having a strong defence stopping the goals at the other side. One of the reasons for that is our set pieces have been really good. So if we can keep this up, we're in a far better place than we were 9-10 weeks ago, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But I genuinely never thought at any point after the first few weeks, I never thought at any point in the season we'd be having this discussion. It's been incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I remember saying on this podcast after we drew with Dundee United, I was like, right, that's it. We're not in a title race. Let's stop kidding ourselves. I was like, this is, we're going to keep dropping these points. But I mean, I wasn't to know the whole Nancy debacle that happened. But at the same time, we have still kept, every time we do have a bad result, I feel like we kick on. We have a good result next. We get beat by Hearts, which was obviously devastating for everyone, because that was such a big game. And if that goal had stood, maybe it was a different story. But we didn't let our heads go down. We had massive games after that. You got to think of the Motherwell game and what they did to Celtic at Fir Park. Absolutely battered them, and we played them, and they had a really good 15-20 minutes in there where they could have been 1 or 2 up against us. But we weathered the storm and we came back, and we could have scored many goals ourselves. But getting those wins, beating St Mirren, then who did we play after that? Then was it the Old Firm after St Mirren game? Was it? I think it might
St
have been.
Mirren, aye. Then it was Rangers Celtic. Then it was Aberdeen.
Celtic
Aberdeen. Rangers, then Aberdeen. Another point on what you're saying there, and we've all missed this out. We've been playing some really good football. The actual quality, the football's been really good.
We keep improving on that, I mean, like Danny Rose says, we are not there yet. We are not the finished article, the perfect team in his vision, but we are getting better. And it's exactly what Danny Rose said when he first came in, about getting the wins and then getting the performances. And you can slowly see the performances getting better and better. But also, just if we can improve the quality of players that we've got on the pitch, for me, right, I think I'm hoping that these 2 new additions will be really great signings. But I also, from the comments that Cavanagh made when he met the fans, made about wanting more goals in the team and about strengthening the attacking areas. That's where I still feel like we need to strengthen. Not a lot of people I've heard say this, but in my opinion, I want to see real wingers at the club. So we've got, how many wingers have we got at the club? Like proper out and out wingers. We've got Gassama. But then we've got Ant-Man, but he's obviously been out injured. Curtis is still a young boy. Like, I think he should go out on loan for 2 or 3 seasons.
I think Curtis will go on loan, to be fair.
he's what is he 18 years old? You know, he might be 19 now. I'm not sure when his birthday is.
I would do my world a good.
Oh yeah, Killy, you know, with the new management that they've got there, that would be a great move for him, in my opinion. But yeah, get him out on loan, and I feel like if we got another left winger, because the thing is, I don't see more as a winger in my eyes. I love to see him in midfield, even as a 10 or as an 8, you know, where he's picking up the ball and he's driving at defenders through the middle of the pitch. That's where I feel like he's most effective. So
I see him as a box to box. I think he's a box to box.
Yeah, number 8, you know, a box to box, you know, in that sort of area. That's where I feel like he's most effective. So if you had Gassama and Ant-Man on the wings, but you also had 2 more wingers, and for me, I would want some more experience in that area, like we had with Cherney last year.
So to do what you're saying, to do what you're saying, you really want to have 2 good wing backs, proper wing backs.
Yeah, which we have in so we've got Magoma, haven't we? Who's coming on a lot, and then we've got the new lad Roman. So obviously we've not seen much of him, but I quite like him. From what I've seen of him, he looks quite quick. He's about 6'2", so you know it's always that when you've got and we've had a lot of the small fullbacks over the last few seasons. It's that cross to the back post, and that's always going to be a target, which I think having a 6 foot left back sort of nullifies that threat. And then in the summer, I mean, we're not going to do anything for the right hand side of right backs this January. It's not going to happen, in my opinion, you know, because we've got Tav there, we've got Max Aarons, and then Sterling when he comes back and is also a right back. So, but you know, that's an area that we need to improve on in the summer. But if we can get some real proper out and out wingers, you know, because if you look at the other side of the city, what have they been? Where have they been really strong? You know, and why have they won so many titles? Because they've got width. They've always got width, and you know, good wingers like a Maeda or a Jota who can go either side, who can whip balls in the box, who can score goals from the wide areas. That is what we need. You know, what worries me though, and you know, we've only been linked with him today, the lad from Sunderland. I just worry about going for these championship level wingers. There's something about I know we've got Gassama from there, but even for me, Gassama at the minute is not cutting it. He's not doing enough in games. But it's just a completely different like game almost, you know, for a winger. If you're playing in the championship, you've got so much space to run into, you know, and to stretch your legs and to attack. When you play for us, you haven't got that. You know, you've not got the space to attack. So we kind of need wingers that are quick, but they're agile. They can go both ways and they can break down low blocks. That's what we need to find.
Yeah, it's just I'm hoping they've identified somebody like that. A point I meant to make to you a couple of minutes ago, Jay, was watching the young boy Moore and listening to him in the press conferences and then watching him on the park. I reckon if you had a chat with him in private and asked him if he had the choice to stay for 2 years rather than 1 year, I've been looking at some of the Spurs websites, the fan forums. They're saying it as well. The boy would rather stay at Ibrox than have to go back to what we call their stadium. I was going to say White Hart Lane. They don't play
Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I think they haven't
Tottenham Stadium. I mean, all right, in England and probably London are quite a big club and all that, but who in God's name would want to go for Rangers back down to Tottenham? The boy, he's loving it up here, and I think if he had the opportunity, as I said, if you get a chance, go on some of these Spurs sites. A lot of Spurs fans are saying it. There's a few a few pages have even said that some of them are saying bring him back, but a few of them have been saying that they might lose out on him and they might end up finding a way to get to Rangers. I don't think we can afford his wages. I think it's too ambitious for us, just because of the English Premiership wage structure. But that boy's really loving his football up here.
He is, and he's a sort of player that, you know, he wants the pressure. You know, you can see he wants the pressure. He always wants the ball. Yeah. He doesn't shy away. You know, he's so you know, wanting to create chances, etc. And he's fearless in what he does. You know, but what I love about him is just like he almost feels like he's one of us, even though he's a loanee from Spurs and his family are Millwall. We know we've got a connection with Millwall. You know, we know their supporters love our club as well. So it's and he's been brought up in that environment, you know, and he's got his father-in-law, I believe, is a Rangers supporter. So, you know, you can see what it means to him. And when he scored that goal at Celtic Park last week, and the celebration, the amount of times I've watched that back, you know, with goosebumps, because that is exactly how I would celebrate if I scored in that game. You know, he is literally one of us, and I want to see him here beyond the summer. You know, he's still 18 years old, isn't he? 19 until like July time or whenever it is. You know,
I mean, I genuinely think
it's perfect for him.
See if the World Cup wasn't this summer, it was next summer,
Mm.
the one after this, 2 years' time. I actually think he'd be thinking if he could play the way he's playing and keep progressing at Rangers, he'd be in that England squad. He really has the ability to go to the top. But
He does.
it's good to see a young boy embracing the club, embracing the fans. He's delighted he's got a song named after him and just loving his football. Because see, at the start of the season, he looked lost. And now I can see the progress that Spurs sent him to Rangers for a reason. He's going to get neutrality and he's going to go for a boy to a man. But that's
And
been
he
a
said
lot quicker than we thought. Yeah.
Yeah, he said that, you know, like the amount of learning that he's had to do since coming here. It's not just about going into a different environment, moving country, etc. It's just handling all of that pressure when your friends and your family are miles away. You know,
Yeah.
it's going to be tough on a young boy. You know, at 18 years old, 17 when he came up here. You know, it's going to be tough on him. But
I mean,
he has gone
another
from a boy
example
to
of
a
what we're
man
saying.
over the few months he's been here.
When eventually does go back to Spurs, you can bet your ass he'll be coming up to watch Rangers on a regular basis. You can guarantee that he's got the bug.
Yeah, but this is why I'm so desperate for us to, because if it is his only season with us, for him to win that title, you know, help us win 56, and then, you know, he'll be coming up here and he'll always be a hero in all of our eyes, you know, and he even already is, because he scored a goal against them and that celebration and stuff, which I absolutely love. But to win silverware is what this club's all about. So for him to come up here and actually achieve that with the club, and to feel the love that the fans have for him, you know, I just hope he continues that way. I know he's got a bit of a niggle at the minute, so I'm a bit nervous I'm hoping he doesn't like aggravate it and he's out for longer. So potentially we won't see him on Sunday, but he's definitely got a big future ahead of him, and Mikey Moore.
Yeah.
I just hope he's got a couple more seasons potentially with us.
And one of the great things about the club now, it's we've got a lot of youth involved. We've got the youngest manager. I know Danny Rowe's a young manager, but he's still got experience in terms of behind the scenes with German clubs and the English Premiership. But he's still a young man who conducts himself in the right way as well, I must say that. And he looks like a Rangers manager. He's got the players conducting himself in the right way, and he's got he seems to have settled right into the club. And then I look at some of the young guys, Magoma at left back. I did incorrectly say under 21 captain. He was under 19s captain. That's only a young boy captain in his country at that level. He's got a big future ahead of him. Fernandes, you know what I'm going to say? He's my bet if I was to bet for Sunday, first goal scorer. That boy's a new Tavernier when it comes to be my default goal. I actually think he looks a lot better. He's a lot better in defence than he looks, because he's height. He's like a Harlem Globetrotter. He seems to be uncomfortable looking on the ball, but he never really loses it. And you look around the park, there's so many of these young players. Barron still at a young age. And it's only really Tavernier. I can't really think Tavernier and Danilo's the only two players I see are getting the other end. And also the resurgence of Butland. All these players have all came better. They're all getting better under this management team. And that won't just be Danny Rowe. That'll be the whole management behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, exactly that. And you can see players improving, you know. It's all well and good coming in and taking a squad that's already, you know, got top players in it. But to take a squad that we've had, and everyone said this is the worst squad of players that we've had in God knows how long, but to take that squad of players and go from 13 points behind Hearts to where we are now is absolutely, you know, miraculous. I don't know how he's done it, but that's just because he's so good at his job, you know. And it's not just the fact that he's had 2 years, you know, at Sheffield Wednesday. The job that he did at Sheffield Wednesday shouldn't be overlooked either, because he was 13. I think was he like 13 points away from the safety zone when he took over Sheffield Wednesday, and he ended up keeping them up. So similar to the situation with us, where we're 13 points behind Hearts, he's not keeping us up, but he's trying to win a title with us, you know. So he's been there before. In a different circumstance, but
I do think that suits him. I think he's the type of guy that I said earlier on. He'll be quite happy with not getting a lot of plaudits.
But
all the plaudits in the last 2 or 3 days has been Celtic bringing their manager back, right? Going back the way, and nobody's talking about Danny Rowe's Rangers.
Right. And that
suits us.
I want that. I want them to talk about them. I want them to talk about how good Martin O'Neill is. Put the pressure on them. Everyone's now saying, now that Martin O'Neill's back, they're title favourites. Good. You can be title favourites. Keep it that way, because we are going to keep going under the radar. Before you know it, we're going to be top of the league, and then there's not going to be any catching us. That's how I feel about this season. That's how I feel about Danny Rowe. I feel like if we get to that top position, I feel like there won't be anyone that can catch us.
I mean, that's how I feel as well. It's all about consistency, and I'm hoping Danny Rowe's going to be the Rangers manager for a real good few years. So this is the start of a big project, and when I say project, I don't mean the project as in trying to get a wee bit better every year. A project of winning regular trophies and putting Rangers back on the map where they should be. There's been too many false dawns, so it's still early doors. And that's why I'm saying that the support need to play their bit as well. And they do that. I'm not criticising the support, but sometimes we get a bit edgy, myself included, with 10 minutes to go, 15 minutes to go. We don't get any support for referees. You've seen that. Some of the pressure we're under is immense. And it's Rangers support being the 12 man's massive for us. And we can do that.
Yeah, and at home, away from home, it's massive because we've got such a big fan base, and the supporters, wherever they go, they always make noise, and that helps us in games where especially in previous seasons gone by in Europe and stuff, you really feel the presence of the fans in those games. So they're super important, but Danny Rowe has got them on side. It's so important to get the fans on side because they can be the 12th man. And you can see that this season, no one liked Russell Martin. They didn't like him from the start, and it was a toxic atmosphere. And you can see what a toxic atmosphere can do to a manager. We saw it across the city as well. Ours lasted 17 games. Theirs lasted 8 games. Because it was clearly the wrong man for the job. And if the fans, you cannot fool the fans, right? They will know exactly it's like a 3-second rule. You'll know straight away that manager and the way he speaks, the way he conducts himself is not going to fit in at this club. That no one knows the club better than the fans, So if the fans are against you from the off, it's not going to work out. Danny Rowe was a bit 50-50. I remember when we were linked with him because people were thinking he might just be the German Russell Martin, but the things that he was saying straight from the off, we thought this is different. Saying things about prioritizing winning over style of play, etc., was just such a breath of fresh air because we had listened to Russell Martin's nonsense for so long, But I have a lot of confidence in us moving forward. Yes, there's been mistakes made, right? Because we had some clowns at the club, but Andrew Cavanagh, he is here constantly. If he's not here, he's watching it up with the Big Apple Bears up in New York, right? He's watching it in the pubs. He's around the fans. He's got the bug. He wants his club to be a success, right? He's going to make mistakes along the way. Danny Rowe's going to make mistakes. The people at the club are going to make mistakes, but as long as you learn from them, it's how you bounce back. And I feel like we are, and I feel like we've got an owner here who is active and is going to do everything he can to make us a success on the pitch. And that's exciting.
And off the pitch, I think that fans meeting proved that. And also something that you maybe should take into consideration. When was the last time you heard a leak, any kind of stories for the club? I haven't heard anything under Rowe. He's managed to stop all that garbage where the teams used to get leaked.
But again, is that just getting the players on side? Because who's going to be leaking these stories? It's going to be disgruntled players who aren't in the starting 11, and are a bit fuming and... so it's good management, it's man management, trying to keep everyone involved or feel like they're being involved. And if they're not going to be involved, having open and honest conversations with them, which I feel like he's had, and trying their best to get the right moves for them moving forward. It's about being a good human. If you're good to the players that aren't playing, they're going to return the favor. They're not going to go and be disgruntled and call up the journalists and say this is the team for the weekend. Because they're not going to want to do Danny Rowe dirty like that, are they? Because
all round, there's so much progress taking place. It might not be big things, but one of the most important things for the club is the small things are making the big things work. And a lot of the things that we used to be unhappy about, they seem to be getting fixed. I'm hoping they can fix the PR side of it, but it's one thing at a time. To be fair, Cavanagh does seem to listen to the fans. I'll give him that. And
yeah, he does.
They don't really need to turn up at these meetings and have these meetings with the fans.
No, I know, but that's it. They don't need to do this, but they are doing this, right? They're keeping that open conversation with the fans and allowing them to ask them questions and giving honest answers. They've even met with the club's ambassadors, etc., former players, and about what they need to do to improve. They want to get this right. They haven't bought this club to make a quick buck. They want to get this right. They want to see this club be successful again, right? And that gives me so much confidence in them moving forward. This season has been tough, right? It's been tough because we had so much hope and expectation at the start. but we put the keys, we gave the keys to this castle to the wrong people, right? But it's people like Patrick Stewart who were here before the new owners came in. They hired Kevin Thale before the new owners came in, and then them two idiots then hired Russell Martin. So the new owners came in. They could have changed things. They could have got rid of Patrick Stewart immediately. They could have, but they gave them 6 months to prove that they could do the job, and it went disastrously wrong, right? And then they got rid of them. They made a quick decision, and then bang, now they're looking for the new people. We've got Danny Rowling and Ronnie up.
It was a baptism of fire for them, and if Rangers go on and win the league, which is a big if still, it may be an argument in the future that it was actually done them the world of good having that pressure, because these American guys have never seen anything like this. You can't compare Rangers Football Club to Leeds, right? That would just be silly. They're nothing like each other. The expectations are massive at Rangers. Leeds are a big club, but only in Leeds. They learned very, very fast that this isn't a football club, this is an institution, and they learned that the fans won't accept second best and players not trying. And they seem to have embraced it and got on board the good ship Rangers. And dare I say it, they actually appear to slowly becoming fans. Maybe that's just because that's the way they want to present themselves, but they look as if they're enjoying this now.
They are. I mean, you don't go and watch the games with fans in a different continent if you don't want to. If you don't, he doesn't need to do any of this, right? But they're doing it, and we need to now, be thankful that we've actually got owners that do care about the club. They're on about their majority shareholder in Dermot Desmond, who's never at the club, the invisible man. So we haven't got that. Ours lives, so many miles away, but he comes here so often. He's around the training ground. He's Danny Rose says he speaks to him every single week, multiple times a week about what they need to do in this transfer market, their plan for the summer and so forth.
And I'm pretty sure
we just need to get in front. If we win this title, if we can win this title,
it'll be a big changing point.
That could be a catapult for future dominance for this football club.
Yeah. Now off the park, I'm wanting to make sure I get this right. I'm pretty sure Rangers announced they've got a new marketing manager. I'm pretty sure they're at last week. I've forgotten his name, and they're also looking at a new CEO, and they're looking at the guy from St Mirren, who I know is a big Rangers man. People criticising him because he never took the job the last time. And then the same people that are criticising him for that are acknowledging the fact that Rangers were an absolute shit show when they never took the job. So that tells me, first of all, the guy's he uses his heart before his head. His head before his heart. And it also shows me that he's prepared to make decisions that might not be popular in his own household. But you have to make the right decisions. This guy could be a new slate with Rangers. We have to be led from the top, outside and inside. We need leaders on the park. We need leaders off the park. We're going to need a new captain soon. Manager, that's strong. The set piece guy, by the way, all credit to this guy. The set pieces have been slowly getting better every week. Now we're a threat. We had no threat at all, set pieces. All the players are lining up to get involved in them. So all the wee things that's happening at the club are all turning into big things.
Yeah, but set pieces are so important. We were so bad at them for so many years. Every time we got a set piece, it was just like, oh, what's the point? Like that's going to happen.
Our corners used to result in their goals, opposition's goals.
Yeah, exactly. Now I kind of feel like corners are sort of like I don't know, like I wouldn't say a penalty, but like a free kick in a really good position just outside the box. With you feel like you get excited when you get a corner. You feel like something's about to happen. So. And we've got a massive freaking 6'6" Fernandez at the back. So, but also the guy that we've just we haven't signed him yet. Who we're going to sign, that Chuck, that midfielder. I think he scored 1 goal this season, which I believe was also from a corner. He's a big physical guy, so we're just adding more threat from set pieces. And clubs can't handle it. Look what happened at midweek. Scoring 2 from a set piece. They're so important. You get the first goal from a set piece, right? And you break that. You break the park the bus tactic, and the deep line defense. You break that from a set piece, they're gonna have to come out. Then you can start to play your football. If you don't have that threat and you're just constantly passing the ball around the box in a horseshoe formation, trying to find gaps, it can be very difficult. So we've got an extra extra weapon here, which we're using so well, and I like the fact that he, when the set pieces are up, he that's his time to shine. He's up and he's looking and he's probably dictating what's happening. And
the
I
more
like
goals
that.
Fernandes scores, the more goals he scores, the better he'll get. He's not like a young lad.
Do you know what? I think a Premier League club will sign Fernandes for 20+ million. We will make a lot of money on him because yes, I think his focus at times lets him down, right? And sometimes he plays a slack pass. But if you can work on that over the next 2 years, right? He's 23 years old when he's 25, and he keeps scoring goals. Like you say, set pieces are massive right now. Look what Arsenal do with their set pieces. If they had a Fernandes in there, I'm sure he'll be scoring plenty for them,
Yeah.
And they've got plenty of money, so why not spend 20-25 million on a set piece specialist?
When you mention somebody who makes some kind of small errors, the difference is when he was doing that in the lower ends of English football, he can get away with that. It doesn't really get noticed. It gets noticed with Rangers, and that will make him a better player. It either makes you a better player, or else it totally affects it. Like Max Aarons. Max Aarons will never succeed with Rangers because he get played out of position at first, and he's never been able to recover. A lot of these guys can't recover. Yeah, and that's a different type of player to Fernandes. Fernandes makes a mistake and then recovers. But in between that, he makes a mistake and then he does a wee fancy turn and things like that. So he's trying to enjoy his football as well.
He's confident on the ball, when he's in possession, he feels like he can do anything, right? So sometimes it makes me nervous, but sometimes it's like, wow, he's got something about him, he's got some confidence, a bit of arrogance, and you can see him, directing, shouting, and balling at people when they're not switched on or when they've made a mistake, and you feel like he's trying to get at them to try and keep them going. He's got those leadership qualities that potentially, he can grow into that leadership role at the club. But I'm excited by him, to be fair, because he's come in and we hadn't seen him for ages, and we didn't really know what he was all about. But to score, what has he scored? 5 goals now, is he, for the club? He must be our joint top goal scorer, is he?
He's had a couple of goals chopped off as well.
Yeah, so he's going to be such a big player. But it's not just his ability on the ball or in the box. He's made some important tackles as well. If you look at the Aberdeen game midweek, they were 3 on goal, and he made that slide tackle to clear the ball, and then towards the end got in the way of a shot which could have ended up in the back of the net. So he put his body on the line.
There's talk about Cornelius coming back in about a month's time or something as well. And let's not forget, when he was playing, he was a threat in the opposition box as well.
He was scoring goals. He scored a couple of goals, didn't he, from set pieces? So
now
I know one talked off, I think, at Livy, was it?
He said he had 2 chopped off 2 different weeks. Giga's back. I know he's back for the African nations, but I don't think I think he'll have to fight for his place now.
Yeah, for me, the starting partnership now is John Soto and Fernandes. Cornelius, if he comes back, he's going to have to fight for that place.
The only reason he might get back in is because Sterling's got an injury.
Yeah, Sterling's got an injury. Which if we can just talk about Sterling for a second, something that's really annoyed me about him, the whole after the Old Firm getting in that accident, I think it's been confirmed, has it now, as a drink driving incident?
I think so.
At least that's what the reports were saying. And then he gets injured, right? If he makes a mistake, and he does something stupid like that, the club will fine him or whatever the club is going to do to punish him. That's up to them. But then you get injured on your next game. Players get injured because they're not looking after their body, right? So he's out until whatever time in the morning drinking. He's not hydrating. Is he doing? Where's his mind at? Is his body tired, or are his muscles tired? Again, hydration is key for professional athletes to keep their muscles at the right, hydration levels and all that, and warm ups and cool downs and all that sort of stuff. Looking after your body is so key. If he's not been doing that, that's why he's getting so many muscle injuries. And the fact that he then gets a muscle injury after only playing 30 minutes, was it, on against Aberdeen?
The thing about that, Jay, Glasgow's a big city, but it's also a small city, and Rangers are a massive club and a fish tank. The problem he's got, we win the game, we win the Old Firm 3-1. He goes out for a couple of beers, he gets a taxi home, and nobody knows anything about it.
No,
we're not having this conversation now. But he has an accident, he gets caught, and then he gets an injury, and we are having that because it's pretty pathetic, to be fair. I'm a big fan of the guy. I think he's a good player. However, he's completely let the club down, the standards, the fans, and everything associated with our club. He could easily give a guy £1,000 a week to drive him, and it wouldn't be out of pocket. Now, my own opinion is when people do things like that, they should never play for the club again. That won't happen, and I get the world moves on a wee bit, but you shouldn't be behaving in that manner when you're representing Rangers Football Club. I'm a massive fan of the lad. If I was the manager, he would never kick a ball for us again.
And I kind of feel like Danny might be looking in the summer if he can offload him, because again, he's had so many injury problems and he's making really silly mistakes off the pitch. I don't want to go in too hard on him, but at the same time, he's really, really let the club down, let his teammates down, let the fans down, because he's such an important player. He's been out for so long. He had time to go out, and have a few beers during his time off. He should now be focused. We're in a title race here. I know you want to celebrate having won that game, but celebrate at the end of the season with everyone when we win the title. That's the time to celebrate.
But as I say, it's back to what I'm saying as well.
It's just
get a lift home, get somebody to take you home, get a taxi like everybody else does. These football players, just forget him for a minute. Football players in general have been spoiled over the years. These guys make more in a week than some people get in a year, so they can afford to get taxis home. So if that's the case, well, there's a comment coming in here, too quick to attack our own. Would we be saying that if he was in an accident where he's in the hospital now? There was stories about there was 2 players in it as well. What happens if the 2 players get a bad injury? I would like to think that if something happened to him, we were concerned about him, so we don't want things to go wrong with him. It's not really an attack on him. It's a fact that he should be responsible as a grown man. And if you're being a grown man, you have to be able to be. When you're representing Rangers, you're representing them all over the world, wherever you go and what you're doing. And
everything you do is representing the club. Every single action you take outside, on the pitch, off the pitch, you're representing the club. If you make a mistake, you go out and have a few beers and start getting in your car and you're driving and have an accident like you do, you're going to put the club in a bad light. You're sort of taking the shine off what was a great victory in the old firm, and there's going to be cameras on you and articles written about you, when they should be writing about, your performances in the game or whatever, but not about you drink driving. And I just think it's such an easy thing not to do, it's so avoidable.
That's my point. It's just stupidity.
It just annoys me because now he's injured. I know he's only about for 2 or 3 weeks, but those are massive game. This game on Sunday is a massive game.
He's also one of our best players on form, so we really need him.
Yeah,
but that might not be part of why he's injured. To be fair, I don't know. I have no idea how he got injured.
No, it's a hamstring strain, and my only thing about that is he keeping his muscles hydrated? When you drink, you dehydrate your body, etc. And is it a coincidence the fact that he went out drinking till late, on the Saturday night, and then what's his recovery like on the Sunday and Monday, and how are his muscles feeling ahead of the game on the Tuesday? Has that had an impact?
To be fair, we've no idea about that because he might have only had a couple of beers. He looks a fit guy. He looks a sensible guy. So he'll be kicking himself having done this. You know what I mean? But I don't know I don't know if the 2 incidents are connected. To be fair.
No, I know.
Because he's injury prone anyway. He is an injury
prone anyway. But it's just he's not helping himself, and I wish he would, because he's such a fantastic footballer. We've all seen the qualities that this guy has got. If he could stay fit, he could be Calvin Bassey level, right? If he could keep himself fit, he would be
with consistency.
Yeah, because if the performances that he puts in, he's so valuable to us, and he would be valuable to many other teams out there, the top teams.
Well, you just have to look at Clement. Clement used to talk about how valuable he was because he could play in every position. But listen, the club's dealt with it. We need to hope that he's learned a lesson and he's going to come back fit. The big thing for me is we get him back. If he's going to be still back at the club, but it looks like he will be. You get him back in the team. He doesn't do it again, but. We really need the player. We need everybody as fit as possible because the squad's still fragile.
Yeah, it is.
If he could keep himself fit, he wouldn't be at Rangers still. Well,
his fitness is a lot of money for him, and then we could reinvest.
Unfortunately, we seem to be kind of attract these type of players that are not constantly fit. That just seems, but that's been a big thing for a long time.
But we went through a phase of getting them because they wanted cheap. We didn't have the money to spend that we've got now. So that's what we were looking at. And I remember the owners saying when they came in, it might have been one of their first interviews, how they're going to be looking at, their injury records and stuff, and not going for, players that have a history of being injured just because they're cheap. The best ability a person can have is availability. So that has got to be key for our recruitment moving forward.
It's a good point there. If he could keep himself fit, he wouldn't be at Rangers still, because he'd probably be back in the Premiership. That's how highly I rate him. I think he's a great player, but he needs to be playing more often. And I think even if that incident didn't happen last week, that he'd still be injured next week or the week after. I don't think you're going to get 3 or 4 games at him a month.
No.
I just don't see it.
And that's so. What do we do with Dijon Sterling? What do we just? I was thinking about this today, and I was like, we may as well just keep him around, because he could be fit for some 3 or 4 vital games in the season where he's adding value, and then he's going to be injured. So you basically have 2 in each position, and then you have Sterling just floating.
Yeah,
to play
correct. He's
needs it.
Very like what we've done with Leon Balogun, another player who's underrated. Balogun got a few injuries as well, but when you needed him, if Balogun was injured and he could play, he would still play for us. That's the type of player you need. That's probably where I would mark Sterling, to be fair. Hopefully he learns from it. He gets himself back fit and he gets back in amongst it. But he could be for a couple of weeks. I don't know. But G gets back, so he'll come into there. He'll go in and cover that.
But he couldn't even get in Burkina Faso's side. I mean, I don't watch the AFCON, right? So I don't know. I don't know Burkina Faso, and I don't know how many really good players they've got. But if you've been signed for 10 million to play in the Premier League, how many other players that play for Burkina Faso are playing in the Premier League? You're now on loan at Rangers. You've got European experience. You played in the Champions League for Red Star. How are you not starting for Burkina Faso? I think they had
I don't know the answer, but I'm glad he didn't start, because it means he's back here and we've got somebody that's fit to play, as far as I know. So it probably suits us anyway. And I don't watch the AFCON. It's probably a great tournament. I just don't have time to watch it. A quick shout out just before I forget, because I can see the ERA 404 N2C. They have the logo, North American Rangers Supporters Association.
Yeah.
And they made an announcement last week, I believe, that the convention for 2027 is going to be in Nashville, Tennessee, I think that is.
Ooh.
And I think that's a fantastic choice. I've moaned a few times they don't have it there, because I probably not get there this year now. It's something I'm moaning enough, but it's a place I've always wanted to go to. And I think for a convention, they probably picked the best and probably the most popular venue area for a convention outside Las Vegas. Yeah. And I hope they do well with that and get all the best, because that will be one hell of a party in Nashville. Yeah, I think the tickets will be available for that soon. I'm sure Eric can fill us in with that one.
I need to have a look at that, because Nashville is on my bucket list. I'm a massive fan of country music, and I think Nashville is the home of country, if I'm not mistaken. So, no.
I had this argument. I was in Belfast. I was in Belfast 2 months ago with the Balnahanch Protestant boys, and everybody in Northern Ireland loves country and Western music. However, they get a bit pissed off with guys like me when we call it country and Western. I thought Nashville was a home of country and Western, but apparently it's a home of country, and they're completely different things. I don't know, but they get angry. I know they get angry about it. I don't know, but I know they get angry about it.
Oh, right, okay. But
that'll be a great convention. The ERSA convention, the next convention coming up before that is in February. In a couple of weeks' time is the ORSA convention in Adelaide in Australia. And then in in June, you've got the Nashville NARSA one I just mentioned, but then you've got ERSA. They all sound alike, so I'm just trying to make sure I get this right. And ERSA is in Lanzarote. So 3 good party resorts if you want to go and get involved with Rangers supporters all over the world. They're out there, go and get involved. All right, sorry, this guy's just he's Scottish, he just wants to promote a channel. Well, that's fair enough. Well, we've helped you do that. And I like you promote all the conventions, because getting that Rangers word out there is fantastic. When I was watching the Rangers and Celtic game at the weekend, Celtic Rangers game, they were at home. They're filming a documentary, and in the middle of the documentary, I get a video call, and that was from the Singapore Rangers Supporters Club. Gavin had phoned me, who decided to phone me today, who's still on the bevy, still pissed, still singing. So it's great when you see these Rangers fans all over the world, because wherever you go in the world, you'll find a bear. And that's important to us, that we can promote that at any time. Are you going to the World Cup? I'm not going, but I think Ryan is going, and I think Gordy, I think, said he's going. Lewis spoke about it. I don't know about you, Jay.
I'm not going. No, it's my sister's wedding in the June, so and that's in Holland, so I don't think I'll be allowed. But
Is
but
that
no,
when it is? Is that when it is, June?
June, yeah. So my sister gets married. I think with Scotland play at like 2 a.m, and my sister gets married that morning, or that day. They after 2 a.m, and then get up early for the wedding. So yeah, so it starts that week. I think it's a Thursday. Thursday is it the 10th or something? I don't know.
I'll not be going to that. Is that chick that's asking me that? I won't be going to that. I'll probably watch some of the games, and we've got Andy Milne, the famous England fan, going to report on some of the incidents because he goes to all the games that he can get to. I'll just be watching it on TV. It'll be a great tournament, but there's a few scooter weekends. I think I'm going to be in Oban that weekend, and in July there's only one place in the world I'll be, and that's Loyal Northern Ireland for the famous 12th of July. So I'll not be going to the World Cup. I can't afford it unless somebody wants to send Miller.
I know. You see some of the price of the tickets. My cousin's going now, who lives out in America, another Rangers supporter. So he's going. He's trying to get tickets to Scotland, Brazil.
Victoria's going. Victoria's going, I believe.
Is she? Yeah.
Well, she lives in Canada. I think somebody.
Yeah, she does.
Follow. I don't follow international football, so I may be getting this wrong. I'm pretty sure some of the games are in Canada and America, and some tells me
they
Mexico
are, and
as well.
Mexico. I think they're across all three.
I'm old enough to remember Mexico '86.
I'm not. Born in '93.
Make me feel old. Well, I remember Mexico '86. That was a great World Cup tournament.
Yeah, but I've lost a love for international football. To be fair, like I loved it when I was a kid growing up.
I like if there's a big game on, I'll watch it. But I would be lying to say I was passionate. I certainly wouldn't take a ticket for the Scotland because there's guys that actually follow Scotland, and I know a lot of Rangers guys that follow them. And if I got a ticket and took it, I would be stealing a ticket for somebody that really cares passionately about it, and I'd be wasting it. So I wouldn't do that. But if I had the money, I'd get for maybe a bevy because I think it would be a great atmosphere if you went to the right places, meeting different football fans. But it'll probably cost a fortune if it's in America.
It's too big. Like I would mind in Qatar. Do you know when everything was like close together? I wouldn't mind going to a World Cup like that. But when you're traveling thousands of miles to different games and stuff, it's I don't know.
I also think that again, I'm not having a dig at MD here, but I also think that in general, international football fans are a wee bit different from regular football fans. It seems to be guys that maybe follow the lower leagues. However, I do know a few Rangers fans that follow Scotland. So if that's your cup of tea, fair enough. Start a GoFundMe for Si.
Yeah.
We'll certainly be covering it in some ways. Did you see the games are on at 2 a.m?
One of them is, yeah. I think the first Scotland game's on a ridiculous time. But I think all the Scotland games are quite late. The first game might be around 2 o'clock in the morning, something like that. Yeah.
Another thing as well. See when you seen the draw.
Yeah.
And this isn't me being better, but when you see the draw before it's drawn, right, you know England's going to get the easiest team in the world, right? And then my brother Scott phones me right now. He doesn't really bother with international football. He texts me and then phones me and he says, "Who is it to do? What's the name of them with the team again? I've forgotten it. It's the name of a hat. What's the name of it? It's the name of a hat.
What's that?
England, the team they drew, it's like a wee fucking tiny island. I've tried to
Panama.
remember the name. Panama. Aye.
Panama, yeah.
It's just like you couldn't make this up, right? You're looking at some of the teams that are in that, right? And England draw fucking Panama, right? That's like drawing Duke Street, right? I mean, it's like fucking 2 streets or something. And England draw them in the World Cup. And that's been happening since '86 and before that. Some of these draws are absolutely incredible that England get. So that is a bit of, to me, it's a bit of mockery as well.
But I think Scotland's group though is a good group because you got, I think, is it Haiti, which is a team that, and that's the first game, I believe. So you're thinking, and because of the new format with 48 teams, Scotland could potentially go through, because I think like the like 10 out of the 12 third place teams or whatever also go through. So if you get a lot of goals against Haiti, and then you've got Brazil and Morocco. So Brazil is like a glamour tie, and then Morocco is like a potential you could win that game. I know they're a good side, Morocco, but they're not unbeatable. So it could be a more exciting World Cup for.
As I said, it's exciting for a lot of guys that enjoy it, but for me, my excitement with the World Cup and especially Scotland is when I find out that a Rangers player comes back uninjured. That does it for me. And then we can
You
get
know,
back on
John Stewart will come back and he'll miss the start of the season. So
off. Aye, on
every
the
time he goes
bench.
international, he gets injured.
Injured on the bench. Ryan Jack.
Yeah,
Another one to
he'll get injured in the warm up, and then that'll be it.
My coffee's gone cold. Anyway, that's us. We've done. What have we done? An hour and 1 minute. Do you want to check the comments out, mate?
Let's have a look. Yeah, Betty McKenzie has said, GoFundMe for Sai. Error here says we can't allow that mob to take over our national side. I think they already have, to be honest.
I just don't have an interest in it. Listen, if you want to go and follow them, that's fine. And I get that. It used to be a Rangers of Scotland connection. I just find it boring, if I'm being honest. But MDs want to go enjoy it.
Yeah. We got a comment here from AJ. Can't believe Wolverhampton paid 12 million for him. But the thing
is, Giga. Is that Giga?
That's Giga. Yeah, that's about Giga. The thing is, 12 million for them is like us paying, like, I don't know, a couple of million or 1 to 2 million on a player. You know,
I think what he's referring to your point about he couldn't get a game for. I forgot the name of the team he plays for them.
Yeah, Burkina Faso. But yeah,
Burkina Faso. I mean,
I know. And
for a player for there. Aye.
I know. Yeah, and so again, another comment from AJ. No excuses for drink driving. That was about Sterling. Yeah, we covered that. But yeah, so let's have a look down the comments. Let's have a look. Do you think Sky Sports pick Rangers versus Hearts home? Case Hearts upset Rangers. Celtic this season. Thoughts on this?
Nah, I don't go for anything like that.
No. Let's have a look.
No, I don't think. I think Sky Sports want as much entertainment and excitement as you can get in Scottish football.
I think it needs it. You know, yeah. You know, it's these games that are on Sky Sports is the chance to really show the rest of the viewing public what Scottish games are all about. And I think this season actually has done wonders for the game. If you think about, like, obviously the people are talking about it. You know, you're on Talk Sport, etc. People are talking about a 3-horse race. You know, potentially even more. And rightly so. 5-horse race with Motherwell and Hibernian.
The football's been really good for a lot of the teams. And as I said, Rangers were pretty crap for a while, but getting results. But now we're playing great football. So it's all right to talk about. I'm just laughing here. If anybody's wondering why I'm laughing, normally when I do a show in here, I forget a dog. If I've got Lily, she jumps up and she's been a pain in the arse. But it's been so cold in here. I put 4 radiators on, and our wee arse is about 2 centimetres away from a radiator, blocking all the heat for me. So she's not wanting to move in it. It's a great photo. I'll try and take it later.
Got another comment here from Graham Brown saying, I'm more concerned about Hearts transfer deals than Celtics, I'm assuming. So,
I would agree.
They are doing business. You know, they bought a right back. I think it's a right back from a lower Dutch league side. I can't remember.
2 points on that. First of all, I agree with Graham, but the other point is back to what I was saying earlier on. They're doing their business and they're not shouting their mouths off. They're just going about it quietly.
Yeah, but they've got slick operators at that club. You know, Tony Bloom, who's obviously been successful at the work he's done at Brighton, etc. as well. So, they know what they're doing. And fair play to them, because it's exciting time for Hearts. It's exciting time for the league, because
they put their money where their mouth was. They said they were going to mount a challenge, and I don't think it's fair. I'm not trying to blow smoke up Hearts' arse because I don't really care about them, but I don't think it's fair when I'm hearing people coming onto the channel and comments and things like that the last year saying, they're not that good. It's because Rangers and Celtic are crap. You have to give clubs credit and on the merit that they're there. They're top of the league and they deserve to be there. And the same, we played Motherwell a couple of weeks ago. They were outstanding. Hibs have been playing well. St Mirren, great victory in the League Cup. So all these teams deserve credit because it only makes Scottish football better. We can't continue with this garbage in Europe. The levels of the Scottish teams in Europe need to get better. But let's hope.
Yeah, and that's what they need to improve, because we do need other Scottish teams to add to that coefficient because we're losing things like the whoever wins the league goes automatically into the Champions League group stages. We're losing things like that. We're going to have less teams in European football, I think, from next season because of our performances, etc. So they need to step up because they keep getting knocked out in the early rounds of the qualifying, which is no good to anyone. But I hope Motherwell keep their manager you know, because I have a sneaky suspicion that those on the other half of the seat will probably look to snap him up in the summer, especially how they played them off the park. But I hope Mother will get to keep him because he's doing good things there for that club. So
yeah, I know they won't get Robinson. At St Mirren. I think he might go to Aberdeen. They tried to tap him a few months ago, as I spoke about in this programme. But he's a massive Rangers fan, so he won't go to the Piggery. That's one benefit. And he might end up eventually, if he continues his progress, being a Rangers manager in the future, or part of the backroom staff. But there's good management in Scottish football, don't you?
Yeah, but if we get a CEO like Keith Gillespie, that's where potentially
Gillespie's his name. Yeah.
Yeah, we could look for we potentially might have those Scottish managers in the future. You know, he might look to really strengthen the team from within rather than
he's Northern Irish. Robinson's Northern Irish, but I know what you mean. Scottish.
Yeah, but I mean he's got experience in Scotland, so you know, and he's managed St Mirren, obviously, where he's the vice chairman. So I feel like if Robinson's going to get the job at Rangers, it will be if Keith Gillespie is the CEO and once Danny Rowler eventually leaves.
Possibly, but I think Danny Rowler will be at Rangers for a long time because I think he's settled in and he looks as if he's really enjoying it. He's a manager with a smile on his face, but let's be honest, in the crazy world of management that we saw this week, that could change quite quickly in all football clubs. But nothing would give me more pleasure than seeing Danny Rowler being a success with Rangers because I think the lad deserves it.
He absolutely deserves it. He deserves to be a success. He deserves to have the backing from the owners, from the board. And at the minute, all things are good. You know, nervous for the weekend, nervous for that game, and more nervous now with the couple of injuries that we've got. But if we get a win there, we've then got a bit of a breather with Annan and then 2 Europa League games, which, let's face it, they're just, you know, dead rubber games. They mean nothing now. So we've got then 3 games where we can bred in the new bloods and rest some of the players that have been playing a lot over the festive period, so we can then hit the ground running again. Dundee at home in a couple of weeks or so. So yeah, it's going to be a massive game. I'm looking forward to it, but on Sunday I'm going to be a bag of nerves.
Yeah, but it's all to play for. We're starting to enjoy the football again. There's a real excitement in the Scottish game. Who knows? By the time we play, Hearts and Celtic will have played. There might be more points dropped.
Well, here's hoping. I'm not getting my hope. Well, I don't want to get my hopes up because when I do, bad things happen. So I'm just going to say that, you know, Celtic will win 5-0, Hearts will win 3-0, and let's hope it doesn't happen.
Well, I met the doctors today. They decided they're going to do these random tests on people and anybody want to volunteer. I volunteered for the fucking thing, and the woman took my blood and told me I need to chuck the bevy for a couple of days. So that's what I went out for him. I had a row for the doctor or the nurse or whatever you call her, man, calling me all sorts. She said to me my blood pressure's over the roof, and I said to her, have you been watching the football? She just shook her head and went like, "This has got to kill you, son." So I'm going to take a leaf out of her book and then maybe slow down for the weekend. But it's great fun. It's great to see new faces on the channel commenting, different numbers, different names, and we're always looking for people to get involved as well. So it's been a good night, mate.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. And we'll look. I'll be looking to do a video again tomorrow as well, where we're going to preview the Aberdeen game and look at the predicted lineups, etc. as well. So please join us for that tomorrow. And if there's nothing else from yourself, so we'll wrap up now.
Just quickly, just as we mentioned at the bottom of the screen, you'll see that we have a Rangers Lotto agency that supports the Rangers Youth Development Team and other small projects involving the youth team and the setup. So if you would like to get involved in it and you'd like to be part of the Gers TV syndicate, all you do is phone up the Rangers Youth Development, the department, and you quote 4500 the Gers TV, and that means if you win, we get a small share on it, and it helps us with the channel, and most importantly, it helps the young team get better every week.
Happy days. Right, thank you all for joining. Thank you for everyone for getting in the comments and getting involved. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It would massively help us. It's been a pleasure. Cheers, Si, and we'll see you all on the next one. Bye for now.